Hi everybody, Dan Bailey here with another super fun photography video for you. Today I'm going to share with you what I feel is the most important, the most crucial component to photography. The one thing that will help you get the best, most dramatic, most eye-catching images no matter what you're shooting. Before we get started though, just wanted to remind you guys about my Photography on the Brain video lesson series. This is my 30-lesson course where we dive down deeply into the realms of creativity and image making on a much more cerebral level. We explore a number of very insightful topics that are designed to help you push the boundaries of your own creative mindset. And I give you a series of assignments that will help you implement these ideas and techniques into your own shooting experiences. So if you'd like to check out the series and get a very special deal on my Photography on the Brain lessons, you can check it out right here. Okay, let's get started. All right, I'm just going to give it all away right now. Photography is all about the moment. I mean, if there's one thing to pay attention, it's that convergence, that one special instant when everything in your scene comes together, that decisive moment, if you will, that split second when you press the shutter and capture everything perfectly. It's the absolute peak of the action, the most compelling, emotionally charged, dramatic expression on your subject's face. It's when all other concerns just drop by, because in that one instant, nothing else matters. You're standing right there with your camera and everything just falls by the wayside. Because in that instant, nothing else deserves our attention more than the moment. I mean, especially when you have great light. Wait a minute. As we all know, there are times when you have this amazing, beautiful light, these beautiful streaks of sunlight that come out of the clouds, or that beautiful sunset or sunrise light when it casts this warm glow on everything in the scene. Sometimes smoke in the atmosphere creates these incredibly warm, vivid, bright red and orange hues. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. That beautiful light that we all live for. You know, that's what we seek out as photographers. That's why we stay up late and miss dinner and get home at midnight, or 2 a.m. here in Alaska in the summertime. Or get up out of our tent when it's freezing cold. We'd much rather lie in our sleeping bag, but we're just compelled. We have to chase that light. We'll get out and hit the trail at ungodly hours when the rest of the world is still sleeping. Stumbling along the trail in the dark by headlamp, so we can reach that one location and have the perfect view when that magical light hits. So yeah, forget all that stuff I said about the moment. If there's one thing that matters in photography, it's the light. Absolutely. Nothing else is more important than the light. I mean, the very word photography means to write with light. So, I mean, how can there be anything more important than light? If you don't have great light, you don't have a great picture. In fact, if you don't have any light, you won't have any picture. And just think about all those really cool artistic ways that you can use. Wait a minute. The more I think about it, even if you have really great light, anybody can snap a photo at sunset, but it takes a really special kind of artistry and personal vision in order to make a truly great photograph. When you're standing there in the scene, there's all the stuff that you have to bring together, all these components and technical aspects. You've got the camera, the lenses, you've got depth of field and color and how you're going to use all these in your picture. It does take a special kind of artistry to distill all that stuff into a workable, compelling composition. If you're not putting your own artistry and your own personal vision into the process in photography, you're just getting snapshots. I mean, technical stuff aside, think about all of the creative elements that go into making a great photo. You've got to consider your framing and the position of your subject matter and how it relates with all the other elements in the frame. And there's another thing. I mean, what are you going to put in the frame and what are you going to leave out? So it's not just about inclusion of all those elements, it's about exclusion and abbreviating the scene. So yeah, anybody can stand in front of a pretty sunset and get a good photo, but it's that true artistic vision. And of course, knowing which lens and which focal length will allow you to best capture the scene in order to have the most impact and tell the right visual story that you're trying to impart. Of course, the lens is more about the gear than your artistry. And I mean, that brings up a good point. Like, without good gear, you're going to be struggling to get these great photographs. I mean, most cameras and lenses are pretty good these days. I mean, but if you want to get some really dramatic photos that are going to stand out, especially if you're going to blow these things up to a huge reproduction size, you're going to want to have the highest quality lenses. I mean, we all know that the glass matters. You don't want to go shoot your great subject with a cheap lens. I mean, what if you're out there to capture a once-in-a-lifetime event? You're going to want to take your cheap camera or your really nice camera. So yeah, the gear does matter. I mean, as we all know, a good camera, good lenses cost money. So I mean, from that standpoint, money is without a doubt the most important aspect in photography. So yeah, forget about all the other stuff I said about moment and light and artistry. I mean, good lenses cost a lot of money, and so do high quality cameras. You know, photography is not a cheap activity. It's not for those who have empty wallets and tiny bank accounts. Especially if you shoot action or things like nature and wildlife and birds in flight. Absolutely, you're going to have to get the best quality lenses, because those are the ones that have the fastest autofocus motors. And if you've ever tried to capture flying birds with a cheap lens, I mean, you might as well not even bother. You're just wasting frames at that point. And what if you shoot weddings and portraits and stuff? I mean, you're going to need lots of flashes and softboxes and wireless triggers. That stuff ain't cheap. You know, when I think about this though, I have seen a lot of people out there, you know, who have really expensive cameras, you know, giant lenses and huge tripods. And they might be like $15,000 worth of gear, and they can't take a picture to save their life. You know, they've got gear that most of us will never be able to afford. You know, these people's gear costs more than most people's cars. Hell, it even costs more than my little Cessna. And the problem is because they're out there with all this really expensive photography equipment and they try to force it. You can't do that. You can't just force an image. Sure, you can zoom all the way out there with your huge lens. You can get the eagle this big in the frame, but unless you're hitting the shutter button at just the right time, you're not going to get a great photo. You know, it takes a lot of patience. You've got to wait for just the right moment. Hey, see, I told you, I was right all along. Photography is all about the moment. Or is it? So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. You can leave me a super thanks if you want. For more great photography tutorials and insight, you can check out my selection of ebooks. You can find me on social media and Patreon at Dan Bailey Photo, and you can visit my website and blog as well. Thanks so much for watching. Have fun with your cameras out there when you're chasing the light and waiting for just the right moment. I'll see you next time.